Hey Heather. Hello everybody. Welcome, welcome. Right. Just getting myself sorted here. Hello, Alex. Nice to see you as always. Well, nice that you're able to join us. I can't see you. Susan is here too. Hello, Susan. All right. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining in. Susan says, no, not traveling anywhere, but last weekend we were in Muskoka. How was it, Susan? I've never been. I've only ever seen pictures and the good things that Muskoka has to offer, but I've never been myself. We'll talk a little bit about sort of travel within Canada if we have the time as well, because I definitely want to know what folks are doing within Canada, or if you're still venturing into the U.S. to do your travels. I've love to hear, and we'll talk a little bit about. There was that question on Discord about how is uh, going in and out of the U.S. these days, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that too. So we'll see how all of that plays out. But let's start with, I guess, the most impactful news, or perhaps one of the things that nobody was expecting from the credit card perspective that came through last week. Yes, I'm definitely talking about the new Amex offers that came through. Uh, yeah, I don't want to say historic highs because we've seen slightly higher bonuses than that, but this is definitely the biggest we have seen in the last 12 to 16 months for the Bonvoy cards particularly, and then of course the Aeroplan Reserve cards as well. From let's break it down in terms of Bonvoy cards first, and then we'll talk about the Aeroplan Reserve cards. So with Bonvoy, there was a theme to this entire thing, and the overarching theme was Amex is getting away, at least for their co-branded cards, they're getting away from simply rewarding people from spending in the initial, say, 3 to 6 months time frame, and then giving you a retention bonus. They've included this new category. I'm calling it a new category of spend requirement, which is basically annual spend requirements are now in place for these co-branded cards. And what that does is it sort of requires members to not only spend to get your initial bonus points, but it also requires you to keep using that card throughout the year and actively keep using your card throughout the year in order to continue earning the best sort of return, the best acquisition return on these cards. And that's true for the new Bonvoy offers. That's true for the new Aeroplan Reserve offers. So let's quickly run down, and I would love to hear from you what you thought about these offers, if that's changing anything in your wallet, if you're strategizing a little bit more, or if you're apprehensive about, because of course the higher cards, I mean the higher bonuses on these cards also came with a significantly higher spend requirements. So we'll talk a lot. We'll talk about that as well. Let's start with the Amex Bonvoy Business Card, which was up to 130,000 Bonvoy points, which is amazing. And all of these offers are available until they're all active now, and they're available until August 18th, 2025. So you have a couple of months to get there. So Bonvoy business card, which if for those that remember would be, you would have to spend $3,000, or actually $5,000 would be the spend in the first 3 months in the old offer. But now you get your 75,000 initial points with $6,000 spend requirement for in the first 3 months. Then comes the big chunk. Then comes another smaller chunk of 40,000 points, but that's for $30,000 spend over the full year, the 12 months of your card membership. And then, of course, the retention offer, which is 15,000 points, move from that 14-month kind of thing to now between 15 and 17 months, you have to make one spend to get your 15,000. So that remains kind of like your retention offer built into the acquisition offer. So for a total of 130,000 points, you are looking at a spend of $30,000 in a year, and then maybe one extra purchase if you're keeping the card between months 15 and 17. I think this was a decent offer. We'll talk a little bit about what we all think in terms of this new category of annual spend requirements here in Canada. and how that changes our sort of strategy around cards. But what I think was perhaps the best offer of them all was on the Amex Bonvoy personal card, which now comes with a welcome bonus offer of up to 110,000 Bonvoy points, 65,000 initial points for a spend of 3,000 in purchases in the first 3 months. And this has gone up. If you remember, it used to be $1,500 spent in the first 3 months. It's gone up a little bit. So it's become 3,000 in the first 3 months. You get 65,000 points as a chunk. Then the next little bit, you get 30,000 points if you've spent $20,000 on the card annually. And then another 15,000 in retention, much like the Bonvoy business card. So in this case, if you want to earn your full 110,000 points, you are looking at an overall spend of $20,000 annual spend, and that one additional purchase that you have to make between month 15 and 17 to get that final 15,000 point installment for a total of 110. In terms of how much things have changed in terms of spend requirements and what you get in return, I think this was the sort of quote unquote least impacted card. So Amex Bonvoy Personal would definitely be my preferred card if you were choosing and picking which ones you would want from these elevated offers and elevated spend requirements that are now part of these acquisition offers. And similarly, much like these two Bonvoy cards, the equivalent on the Aeroplan side, the Aeroplan Reserve cards particularly. So we saw new offers on the Reserve Business Card and the Reserve card itself. The Business Reserve, the welcome bonus was 140,000 Aeroplan points, which is a significant haul if you're able to get everything. Again, 65,000 initial points when you spend $10,500 in the first 3 months. So already a bit steep. But if you thought that was steep, you get additional 45,000 if you spend $75,000 in the 12 months of your card membership. And that's really steep. Let me know what you think in comments. We'll take that in a couple of minutes. And then your retention offer, that additional purchase between 15 and 17 months is 30,000 points. So retention offer is much stronger compared to just Bonvoy if you had to compare it that way, because Bonvoy cards, the retention offers were 15,000 points. In this case, the retention offer is 30,000 points for your Aeroplan cards. And that is the same as the Aeroplan Reserve personal card as well, because now that welcome bonus offer is 130,000 points. So the Business Reserve is 140,000, Aeroplan Reserve is 130,000, and the 130,000 points is split as 60,000 points as your initial offering for spending $7,500 in the first 3 months, and then additional 40,000 points when you spend 45,000. So not as steep as the business for obvious reasons. The personal card, you have to spend $45,000 annually for you to get that additional 40,000 points after the initial 60,000. And then, of course, the retention offer, much like the business card, is at 30,000 points in months 15 and 17. Yeah, so those were the four new offers on the co-branded cards. On the Aeroplan side of things, reserve cards are the only ones that got these elevated offers with the higher minimum spend requirements. The regular Amex Aeroplan card has not seen any change. We don't know if that's going to change at some point, or at least for now, that continues to be the way it is. I don't think Aeroplan plans to touch that. Offer much because that sort of gets people into their ecosystem. So that card, which is the regular Aeroplan Amex card, continues to be the same as it was, I guess, last month or a couple of weeks ago. The Aeroplan changes or the new offers are just on the reserve cards and the Bonvoy cards that saw the changes. So let's see, what do we have here? Heather says, apprehensive about spending so much on the Porter card when I'm not sure I'll even use it. Heather is still stuck on that Porter card. Heather, I'm assuming you got that card. So if you got that card, you may as well commit to it. There's no point getting that card and not committing to it. But at least commit to it as much or as little as you want to. But AC says spending requirements are just preposterous, only aiming for minimum spend requirements and the 15 to 17 month. Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, that annual spend on the card will be quite high. So as AC is suggesting, maybe for some people, it's better to think of that card as the initial acquisition of points. So let's say, for example, the Aeroplan Reserve card, you get 60,000 points when you make purchases of 7,500 in the first 3 months. So you get that 60,000, and then AC is saying then they are only going to worry about the retention offer. So they're going to keep the card, but they're not going to worry so much about spending that additional, I mean, not additional, spending $45,000 on that card because perhaps their expenditure is split amongst two, three, four different cards where they have other purchases to make and other minimum spends to meet. So a fully valid point, and I think that's a good way of looking at it. If this card is not going to be your primary card for all kinds of purchases, because let's be honest, I mean, for that business card, 75,000, if you're a business that all of your vendors, or at least enough vendors, take Amex cards, then you are maybe big enough a business to spend 75,000 on that business reserve. But even on the personal side, so 45,000 across 12 months, what is that? 12, 4, 48. So just under $4,000 each month is what you want to put in. So essentially, Amex and Aeroplan are expecting or saying, hey, if you're interested, try and put most of your monthly expenses on this card, and then you will hit that 45,000, and we'll give you an additional 40,000 points on that Aeroplan reserve. I don't think every family or every individual that gets the reserve card will have I mean, almost $4,000 spent on that card every single month for 12 months. Well, so yeah, fully agree with the AC's comment there. Susan says, I hope TD and CIBC will change their offers to match Amex on the privilege cards. I hope not, Susan. I hope TD and CIBC try and maintain their good offers that we've seen from them in the past, and maybe they have a better acquisition. Because if every card, and let's just assume I have zero knowledge that if this is going to happen or whatnot. But if we assume that all Aeroplan cards across the board, so TD, CIBC, much like Amex, if they introduce the uh, new annual spend requirements as well, that just bumps it up and that becomes the new normal across the board for all Aeroplan partners. On the privilege side of things, I would love to see at least one of the privilege cards or a couple of those privilege cards not have these super high requirements. But hey, if Amex has done it, I see your point, and I feel like yeah, at some point they'll be like yeah, if Amex is bumping up their offers and expecting much higher spend for those, so why don't they compete with those same offers and bring some parity at least on the privilege cards, the VIP cards? So yeah, could happen. I hope it doesn't, because at least we'll still allow a few people that don't have such heavy spend capabilities to apply for a privilege card through a TD or through a CIBC. I guess we wait and watch. Um, Right. Heather is saying, oh yeah, Heather got Porter cards between her and her partner. So two cards, and there's enough spend to do for the rest of the year. And this could also be a situation in a case where earlier this year, or maybe in the past month or two, you've gotten a new card that already has enough spend requirements. So you're working on that. And so the new reserve cards or the new Bonvoy cards may not feature in your wallet just yet. But yeah, everybody might be strategizing around these things differently. But here's a question for you. In terms of your Bonvoy earning cards, between the current reserve offers, which is high welcome bonuses, even higher minimum spend requirements, and the current TD and CIBC VIP card requirements, which one would you lean towards if you didn't have any? The reason I asked that is because I had a couple of people ask me that same question. And my honest answer was, hey, look, if you are able to leverage uh, the say at least 4,000 or just under $4,000 on this new reserve card on a monthly basis, I think keeping that reserve card is a very, very strong proposition. Much easier to get approvals compared to say a TD VIP card or a CIBC VIP card. From anecdotally speaking, what I'm seeing from other members that are trying to get that card. But it all really comes down to if you do not have the capability of meeting those spend requirements, then you may want to lean towards a CIBC VIP or a TD VIP, Aeroplan VIP card for now. If they are going to come up with their own elevated offers, we just have to wait and watch. But for now, if it really comes down to how much spend capability you have within your household for these cards. So yeah, we wait and watch. In terms of credit card updates, there's just one more. I have a Neo update for you. So Neo has confirmed that the Neo World Elite Mastercard, which I've written about, that's the card that can get you up to 7% cash back if you have certain amount. I think $10,000 saved up in your bank in your account, in your checking or savings account with Neo. You can, really drive up the cashback rates up to 7% back on that. But anyways, the update is that the EV charging has now been added as a 3% cashback category. And perhaps a more significant update is that the Neo World Elite MasterCard is now going to come with Dragon Pass Lounge access, will now be included in the card. So yet another card that is now with Dragon Pass. So you're able to get in those lounges. It's difficult for me to not be cynical because here's yet another card that's giving you Dragon Pass access or Priority Pass access in some of the lounges that are already way oversubscribed. But it's not one of those things that'll tilt your decision making one way or the other. I think for those of you driving electric cars, EV charging with a 3% cashback is solid. And I think the introduction of that for those that are even thinking about Neo World Elite or those that are current card holders with Neo World Elite MasterCard, this is good news for you. And just another heads up that we've given, there'll be new offers coming on the Neo Cathay World Elite MasterCard starting June 1st. So that's just a heads up. The details will be released on June 1st, so you'll have to wait and watch for that one. Um, yeah, so those are the big credit card updates that came through, and sort of what has hogged the most inbox discussion in the points, miles, and bling world. My direct messages, as I was sharing the stories through the posts that we were doing, the direct messages on Instagram, most of it was revolving around the minimum spend requirements and how people should strategize going forward having these cards. And don't forget, particularly with Aeroplan, executives here have said on this forum have said this over and over that if you are looking at a card that will allow you to have better status, have allow you to get access to certain lounges, allow you to get access to quicker status gain and all of that. Reserve card is the one that will really seriously unlock that for you. So if you are going to fly Air Canada, I feel like Air Canada Reserve is the card for you. And perhaps going back to what AC, not the airline, but just some member that's here named AC was saying that only aiming for minimum spend requirements and the retention offer, and perhaps leaving out the big chunk of spend, which is the annual spend category. Maybe the play, maybe the right way for you to go. But I hope, I mean, it's a premium card, so having higher spend requirements is not completely out of the window. So I can somehow stomach it. That yeah, this is happening. But I was kind of surprised to see that on the Bonvoy card. To be very honest with you, as much as the Bonvoy personal is more palatable compared to what was like $1,500 spend versus now 3,000 at least for the big 60,000 points initially. But even Bonvoy cards having that big annual spend requirements kind of surprised me more, if I could be very honest, simply because most people don't use here in Canada, most people will struggle to use Bonvoy cards as their primary card or even secondary card, simply because those cards really do well for all of your Bonvoy stays, unless they're trying to say that, hey, same idea, get your initial acquisition, don't worry about the the 12-month spend requirement and just retain the card. So there's parity there. I mean, there's not parity, there's equity there that people can decide to not run for it. And for those that are able to spend, say, a 30,000 for the Bonvoy business annually or the 20,000 on the Bonvoy personal annually, will still do it. But even to be able to say add 16 to $1,800 on that card each month to meet that 12-month requirement on the personal card, which is $20,000. So 12 to 24, so yeah, just under $2,000 would be difficult because at least I can tell you what I do. I mean, I'm using these Bonvoy cards as my primary card for any time I'm staying at a Bonvoy property, and maybe in some cases for that dining, for dining and things like that. But that's not the card I'm using. If I have other Amex cards, say a Cobalt card in my wallet, that this you'll struggle to use this card beyond hotel stays, at least here in Canada. So that one surprised me a little bit more, if I can be very honest. So yeah, let's see how things pan out. And in terms of where would people be able to make all of these, or how do you meet these high minimum spend requirements? Hey, look, at least in case of Aeroplan, Chexi is a good partner. So if you haven't tried out Chexi, do read up on some of the posts. There's a referral link, floating around somewhere if you are new to Chexi, or help out friends and family. Use their links if you can, referral links, Chexi referral links, that is. Uh, but that would be one way of thinking about it. Prepaying your taxes, trying to funnel a lot of your expenses that you are going to make anyways through these reserve cards, through Chexi, and buying gift cards at certain things. If you know that you spend certain amount at restaurants or LCBO or whatever the case might be, if there's a gift card option at a grocery store, you can do that. But again, sort of you'll have to do gymnastics to really meet some of these high requirements. It's not going to be as straightforward as it used to be before, where you were thinking about, hey, even 7,500 or heck, even $10,000 in the first 6 months or so wasn't that far-fetched. But some of these new minimum spend requirements are high, and people will struggle to put all of that in the card. But for the true high roller, the reserve card continues to be super, super beneficial. For the true frequent flyer that flies Air Canada a lot, the reserve cards will continue to be, um, you know, one of those things to aspire to have that card in your wallet if they don't already have one. And likewise with Bonvoy cards, good offers, decent, a little bit better than Aeroplan cards, if I can be upfront. The Bonvoy cards are a little bit better with their spend requirements, and yet it feels like Bonvoy cards having an annual spend requirements just hasn't sat well with me in a way that I find it hard to justify that, or I find it hard to advise somebody that they should keep this card, this Bonvoy card, as their primary so that they can at least meet just about $2,000 a month required for that annual spend requirement. Carol says, can one unlink Chexi from Air Canada at any time? I read somewhere it's not possible, which doesn't make sense. Why would you want to unlink, Carol? I'm just trying to think. Are you trying to unlink because you want to change your card? Because that's a completely separate linking and unlinking. Or you just don't want data to be shared between your Chexi transactions and Air Canada. Oh, data. Yeah. So Carol is saying it's data. I think if you write in, we can find out through Chexi folks, but if you write them an email, I'm sure even if it doesn't currently cover how to unlink, they will have backend capabilities to unlink your account from Aeroplan for sure. That's not what you're looking for. But if the question is, and we like Lisa was here, co-founder of Chexi, and she did speak about this. I asked her if it is possible to change card. Right now, Chexi only allows one card upload at a time, so it is possible for you to cancel that card, change your card one at a time. So it's not as easy to do. It takes a little bit of time to do that, but it is possible one card at a time. So if you are going away from, say, Aeroplan card and you want to bring on say a Scotiabank Momentum card, which is very popular for a lot of people that don't care as much about an airline card, that you can do that. It is possible through the same profile, just one card at a time. Is what you'll have to do. But fair point on the data piece, Carol. I think I would suggest writing to them directly to an email. It takes them a couple of days, but they do respond to all of their emails. So it'd be nice to sort of get that in writing from them that they, if they are or they're not able to unlink. I'd be very surprised if they have zero backend capability of unlinking an account from between Chexi and Aeroplan. But yeah, if you do write in, Carol, let us know. In the meantime, I'll right after this, I'll see if we can get a quick answer from the Chexi team on this question of unlinking Air Canada and Chexi accounts. Because you're right, there is no uh, on that platform that they're on that platform right now. There's no way to go and sort of click unlink or whatever. At least not that I've seen it. So yeah, Mike says. Why reserve over CIBC TD VIP cards? Oh, Mike, why reserve over? No, we kind of discussed this. Perhaps you joined in a little bit late, but I don't know. I'm definitely not saying reserve over CIBC or TD cards. Amex cards in general are slightly easier to get approvals on. That's been the anecdotal evidence. So that might be one reason. But with these super high requirements, I did say that in its current form right now, if you look at the VIP cards from TD and CIBC and the acquisition offers, and particularly the minimum spend requirements are much more favorable to the customer with TD and CIBC as opposed to these new offers from Amex. That said, if you are able to make those spend requirements happen, these offers are very, very strong. Like I don't think I haven't seen 140,000 Aeroplan points come from CIBC. TD, I'm trying to think, TD may have given us initial acquisition offers, which were 100,000 or close to. Did we see 120 at some point? I forget if folks remember, let me know what was the highest VIP offer we've seen from CIBC and TD, but it definitely hasn't been 140 or heck, even 150,000 points that we've seen on some of these reserve cards. But yes, fair point. I think I know what you're asking. And no, I definitely am not saying that reserve is 100% better to get compared to a CIBC or a TD VIP card. We're talking Aeroplan particularly. Uh, but in terms of ease of acquisition of a card, like I said, TD and CIBC both require minimum household income of 200,000 on these VIP cards, if I remember correctly, which is fairly high. And when you compare that to, say, an Amex, and just generally to get American Express approval has been a lot more straightforward and easier when you compare that to a TD or a CIBC. Again, if you disagree, I would love to hear why. And again, I'm only talking purely in terms of acquiring the card. I'm not talking in terms of daily usage. You can do the entire comparison. There is enough. I mean, Prince of Travel, Milesopedia, all of them have comparative charts between Amex, I mean, between Aeroplan co-brand cards, and you'll generally find that Amex has been a lot more sort of giving, or a lot more benefits have been rolled into their cards upfront, and also while you're using the card through Amex offers that we just haven't seen from TD and CIBC over the last few years. I mean CIBC more so than TD. I've seen good stuff happening around TD, but CIBC has been fairly sort of quiet on the big offers or things like that, even in the last couple of years since the cards have been in the market. Anthony's asking, can you hold a personal Aeroplan premium with one bank and a business premium Aeroplan card with another? Yes, you can. Although there is restriction of each one card in each category. Business cards are treated separate from personal cards. So yes, you can have a personal premium card with a TD or a CIBC and have a business reserve card at the same time because that business and personal won't affect each other in that it won't disallow you any welcome bonuses. Business cards and personal cards are treated separately or are not seen as the same category, is what I mean. Let's transition out to a question we got on our Discord saying, how is traveling to the US these days? What's the border situation like, especially at airports? And as much as I want to acknowledge the apprehension that can exist, given what we've seen in some cases in the media, the news reporting around it, I can confirm that there's truth in all of that, right? So there's truth in the fact that some people have had harrowing experiences in the last little while trying to get into US or particularly trying to get out of the US. And those have been reported to the nth degree here in the Canadian media, Canadian space. A lot of Canadians are choosing not to go to the US, and I think a good number vice versa as well. So the travel between the two countries is still very, very low. I mean, from direct experience as old as a week ago, I can tell you that transiting a US airport as somebody that has a Canadian passport and a Nexus was super sort of stress-free for me individually. And I know several folks that are transiting, if not visiting US. I was only transiting on my way to Mexico, and then the same thing on my way back to Canada through the US. It was fairly seamless. I could not, I mean, if anything, I thought, hey, this has become easier because there's less number of people trying to do this at this point between Canada and US. Going from, say, Ottawa into the US, it was like crickets. I think I was one of two people during the day that was going through. The volume was really, really light. And even at a lower volume airport like Ottawa, I could see that because forget lineup. There weren't five people that I could see in the entire TSA, in the entire immigration area or US immigration, that is, or security check, which was a bit jarring. And I was going at a time where, I mean, weekday, 10:30 a.m., typically it'll be like lined up, but it was very light. So yeah, personal data points across the board suggest that it is a little bit easier because the volumes are not there. And then in terms of immigration in the US, if you're transiting from the US, if say in my case, when I landed from Mexico City into DC, the immigration hall was just jam-packed. So it's not as if people are not flying domestically. People are flying domestically enough numbers, just as much as before, I suppose. But also people coming in and out from other countries. The volumes are still there. It was just the Canada to US volumes are slightly lower than usual. So, like I said again, if you don't have Nexus, just continue to give yourself more time to clear immigration, particularly while you're entering or exiting the US. But if you have Nexus and other MPP or whatever the other service is called, MPC, sorry, you should be fine. You should be fine going through two, three places. Two, three. I did DC, Chicago. Yeah, DC and Chicago have been in the last little while. Both of those airports, although busy, if you had Nexus or other priority screening services, it was fairly empty and you were able to go through pretty quickly. There's a few data points here that I want to read out, so give me a second. Let's scroll back. Uh, yeah, Heather is saying obviously meet all of the entry requirements, makes things much easier. Alex says personal data point, traveled 5 times to the US for work in 2025. No change, have Nexus as well. Yeah, and I think we'll see that theme of having Nexus and other priority screening that makes things much easier. And for people that are traveling, not much has changed in terms of airport experience for most people. Yes, there have been news, like I said, for some people that have had harrowing experiences, but the key point here is that it's for some people and not everybody that has been experiencing the same things. So Alex says, I'm guessing the TB lounges are also a bit quieter, transborder lounges. Yeah, definitely quieter, Alex. The transborder lounge is quieter. I've had that feedback from other people from Toronto that have been traveling, so I got that message from them. And yeah, and likewise, when they were in a lounge, say out of Florida somewhere, coming back, the lounges were just packed to the T. So Mike says, super easy for me this week and last as I complete my XP run on Delta. Oh, good for you. No waits, no questions, even going back and forth twice in the same day. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Mike. That aligns with what I experienced myself too. Heather says the ferries that go there from he ferries that go to the US from Canada have had to cut back their sailings. Yep. And we've seen airlines cut back number of seats and a few flights and things like that as well. So that's not entirely surprising that ferries are doing that as well. They might close entirely if it stays like this. Yeah, if you're a smaller operation like a ferry crossing or whatnot, the volumes are low enough that Heather thinks that they might have to shut down if the volumes remain this low. Carol says, as an aside, because of the reduced traffic to the US, it seems that more routes are being rouged. My flight, which I booked several months ago, was just unfortunately downgraded to the A321. Other dates also show A321s. One impressive note is that I received both an email and a detailed phone call from AC about the change. Oh, that's good. So yeah, a little bit of positive, and a little bit of sort of negative. You don't want a rouge flight. Yeah, and that's operational, right? And I just like Carol says that because they are reducing the number of flights between US or particularly to sun destinations within the US, for example, it frees up the aircraft to do other routes and maybe uh, take some of these mainline routes that they would typically not have on a Rouge. So that's a little disappointing, I suppose, because I'm not a big fan of Rouge either, Rouge business included. But that said, it seems like Air Canada is, going one up at least on keeping that communication solid, because Carol says that she received both an email and a detailed phone call from Air Canada about this change, which is good. Because clearly, if you are booked in a business class seat, and it suddenly your flight or aircraft goes from being Air Canada to Air Canada Rouge, that is going to be a completely different business class experience, even if it's not a lie flat either way. So yeah, hopefully they are able to offer you something, Carol, as either a change of date, a complete change, or perhaps a few points, because that to me, if you're going from mainline Air Canada to Air Canada Rouge, that is a downgrade. That is a proper downgrade. Heather says, I have no priority. Nexus Global Entry got a few weird questions, but my concern was about my phone, and luckily they didn't ask to look at it. Chris says, done plane, train, and buses a few times over the past few months with no issues. Huh, nice. But plane, trains, and buses. Well, Chris, uh, continue bringing us the data points from how it is to get across on a bus, because I don't think I've ever done a bus crossing. I've done train crossing, done plane crossing, of course, but not buses. Huh, cool. Awesome. All that to say that things are just as easy or difficult as they were before. There's no drastic change on the everyday crossing per se. We are not talking about anomalies. We are talking about just the average experience across the board continues to remain the same, or at least in some situations become super easy because the volumes are low. That's the overarching sentiment I'm getting from the chat here. Um, Heather says some of us are the bus and ferry crowd and some fly rouge. Yeah. Hey, look, if it's a nice ferry crossing, I think I'll take a short ferry crossing over a Rouge flight. How about that? Uh, so Okay. Speaking of all of the US operations, one of the big things that sort of happened, and I don't know how much you folks have been, and because this question came up as to how is the crossing these days, one of the things I felt like I had to mention was that in the past few weeks, I've been actively asking people to avoid not LaGuardia, I apologize, Newark Airport, EWR, simply because of the operational issues that we've seen. For those that may not know what I'm talking about, I'm talking obviously. So here's what happened, and here's where things are. So when was it? Late April, sometime towards end of April, they had these major radar and communication systems blackouts, and that was affecting the ATC, the control towers, from being connected with some of these aircrafts that were coming in and out. So they basically went blind for blind at the ATC towers and were not able to communicate with the pilots of these aircrafts coming in or sometimes going out of the airport, which was obviously scary, confusing, and in terms of what is this? Is this a hack of their system? Is it a issue? Like they really experienced that multiple times since late April. And from what reports I was reading, it wasn't like it was out for hours. It happened for like up to 90 seconds in some cases where they weren't able to keep in touch with the aircrafts, and it happened multiple times. So clearly, their systems, which now they're trying to explain that the systems have been outdated, they haven't been investing in infrastructure enough, and things need a serious upgrade, I mean, IT wise. So that's what was causing some of these issues. They have ruled out any other hack or anything like that to their system. So yeah, this blackout situation happened multiple times, and in some cases, like I said, over 90 seconds, and that's a lot of time when you have, 70, 80, 90 aircrafts landing and taking off all at the same time, or in an hour. I mean, all around the airport. 90 seconds can be a lot of uh, blackout time, and scary for both the aircrafts that are not able to contact ATC and ATC that is trying hard to connect with them using other means. But well, owing to that issue, so the FAA, what they did was they capped the number of flights going in and out to 56 per hour. United has confirmed this for us, for me. Through the media, to other media sources, I suppose, from the typical 73 to 74 flights that would go in or out every hour. They capped it to 56 to reduce some of the workload. And of course, there was already existing issues with staff shortages at the airport. So that got really shown in bad light when these blackouts were happening. There was staff shortages. So all of this came at them kind of close to each other, or was building up, and this came to a crescendo where things weren't looking good at all. So FAA reduced the number of flights that they would allow to land or take off from the airport from like low 70s down to like 56. That's the report we received. Um, and yeah, so when that happens, there have been so many cancellations, so many diversions. People have just not been avoiding the Newark airport. And in a lot of cases, people have just been switching out their tickets and canceling and going with a different airline altogether. And I'll tell you why, because this really caught my attention. Is United also shared that they are the largest international hub for an airline at Newark, passenger and cargo included. What that means is if you, if you are the largest airline hub as at Newark at that airport, and something this wrong happens and things go awry when it comes to operations, as an airline, you would be the one that suffers the most as compared to all of the other airlines that had a smaller footprint at Newark. But on the flip side, the good news is, oh, they had another issue. They also had announced recently that one of their runways, United confirmed it was runway 22R. Um, One of the runways is going under renovation. So it's getting a facelift or whatnot, and that service. So it'll be under service between mid-June to end of October. So that's a lot, and that's across the busy summer period into fall. And if they're saying end of October, hopefully, fingers crossed, they finish all of that work. So between staffing shortages, the radio and communications blackout, and the runway coming up, it doesn't look pretty for Newark, to be very honest. And which is why I've been actively over the last few weeks telling people to avoid Newark. But in a media call recently, they confirmed that Newark is now slowly catching up to JFK and LaGuardia again in terms of operations. And what was the stat they shared? I have it here. Give me a second. This is a stat they were able to share with us. Yeah, so they said United confirmed that operations are slowly catching up to the other airports in the New York area. So JFK was at 80%, LaGuardia was at 78%, and Newark was at 82%. And these percentages are flights that were coming in and out within 15 minutes of their scheduled time. So they apparently they have this measure of how many flights are performing well and coming in and out of their schedule time within that 15-minute window. So 15 minutes early, 15 minutes late, that kind of thing. So basically what they're trying to say is Newark was at 82%, and this data is as of May 21st. Newark was at 82% of the flights that were scheduled were within that 15-minute window, LaGuardia at 78, and JFK at 80%. So on that day, they were beating the other two airports, but on an average in a week, they're still catching up to the averages with the other two airports, but they're doing fairly well. All of that to say that, hey, things are still being managed well, but that's not to say that there will be less number of United flights going in and out of Newark compared to what was happening maybe say 3 weeks ago. So all that said, this is just a heads up that while things are improving, if you don't do tight connections in Newark, if you had to be in Newark, just give yourself a little more time, have a couple of backup plans if possible, especially because United, on Aeroplan and we are great partners. So I'm sure a lot of your redemptions may include United and may bring you from, say, eastern airports in Canada down to the New York region, Newark particularly. So you just have to be able to have a little bit of wiggle room in your plan if you're going to continue with Newark. And the good news is that apparently Newark is catching up on at least the number of flights might be reduced, but whatever the reduced flights are, the operations are now catching up and staying true to what the other averages are around in that New York area. Right. That was what was happening with Newark and where they are at right now. On that note, do you have uh, a preferred US city to transit out of if you were redeeming or if you were just flying through the US? Do you have a preferred airport that you like to use? I'd love to know. I'll give you mine and I'll give you my reasons, but I'll give you a few seconds and think about your redemptions and when you are planning those routes and things like that. Do you particularly look to avoid certain airports or include certain airports because of the setup, because of other amenities and things like that? If you have your favorites, I would love to know, or favorite is a strong word. If you have preferred US airports to transit out of, if you are going long haul international, I would love to hear why that is the case. But I can give you mine. I really like IAD, DC International, simply because that's one of the fewer airports, which is kind of a little old school, but also they do all of their lounges, everything is airside. Across terminals. So you could hop from like terminal A to terminal B and you don't have to go through security over and over again. So selfishly, it's a great airport if you wanted to do some lounge hopping because you don't have to get in and out. You can go between terminals and you still don't have to go out and come back in through security. You just do one security clearance and you are on the inside. And then even if you hop and change terminals, it's all done through those, whatever they call it, the buggy ride, and you're still airside and they don't sort of throw you out and expect you to come back in through another security check. So for me, that is a huge plus compared to, say, a Chicago or some of the other New York ones. If you want to go from Terminal 1, I mean, Terminal 1 to 2 or A to B or whatever the case might be, you always have to clear security one more time, one more time. But DC is just primo. Love it. That you just clear it once and then you can hop across terminals A, B, wherever, and you're able to access all of those lounges, services, restaurants, whatever the case might be, some bars if you particularly like that. I'm a big fan of the food in the Turkish lounge in DC. So I love the food in the Turkish lounge. I love the drinks of the Lufthansa Senator Lounge that's in there. I've never been to the Virgin Atlantic. We're talking IAD, right? I've never been to the Virgin Atlantic Lounge, but it's all right there. Etihad Lounge is in there. United Club. I've been to United Polaris. Have I been to Polaris in IAD? No. But there, even if you were hopping, skipping all of the Star Alliance lounges, if you wanted to, one security clearance and you're good to go if you have a few hours to spend in the airport. So it's pretty solid. Um, oh, a few responses are here. Rahul says Boston is great because I can connect from both the Toronto airports. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's a preferred one because both of the Toronto, the Island, Billy Bishop, and the main airport, which is YYZ, connect to Boston. So that's great. But how about Boston as an airport themselves? That's the point. Uh, do you prefer Boston? Oh, so in this case, Raul prefers Boston just because easier connectivity out of Toronto. So good enough reason, I suppose. Mike says, I like Chicago for a variety of lounges and more sleep on eastbound red-eye flights. Prioritizing more sleep. Nice, Mike. Yeah, well said. I think I wasn't thinking sleep. Sleep priority, but yeah, that makes total sense. I don't mind Chicago at all. You could do the variety of lounges too, but if you had to skip terminals again, it's the entire idea of going through security just is like, ugh, one more time. Yeah, as Susan says, I don't like Chicago. It's so old. But to be honest, I mean, most airports in the US are old. Some of the airports that have now recently seen a big investment, say LaGuardia or even JFK, they have terminals, which are the brand new terminals. But some of the airports, I agree, look very dated and old. Like if you get to uh, Reagan National in DC, right? You go from DC International to Reagan National to fly out into Canada, and you suddenly realize you barely have any lounges around, and it's just an old airport, old gates. It just gets overcrowded. So, as much as I love DC for international, I mean IAD for international connections, I hate going to DCA for any flights back into Canada, for example. Point well taken, Susan. Chicago is an older airport. I know what you mean. It's not just that it's old, just that the amenities are very dated, and things look a little, well, old. Uh, Anthony says any with the Maple Leaf Lounge or Amex Centurion Lounge. So LaGuardia, San Francisco, Atlanta. Love the Centurion Lounge in Atlanta. Nice. Anthony, you've done the Centurion Lounge review on Points, Miles, and Bling, right? In Atlanta. I think you did, and that's a really good lounge. I've never been, I only saw it in the pictures that you had written up. Yeah, Centurion Lounge in Atlanta looks really good. Mike says, yeah, IAD is solid also. Chicago is also convenient for walking between terminals airside. Oh, really? I'm just trying to think. Have I tried to between terminals your airside in Chicago? Okay, maybe that's something that I haven't experienced or perhaps didn't pay attention to. Alex response to that says, unless T5 is part of your itinerary. So I guess T5, you have to go out and come back in. So, didn't pay attention as much in Chicago. Next time I'm there, I'm going to try and do a few more lounges and see how that goes. If everything is airside, that's really good because that's one of the reasons why I love DC or IAD. Chris says, being in Vancouver, it's really nice to fly out of Seattle for more options. Aside from entire airside being connected, the airport is a little meh. Right. Yeah, I really value now the entire airside being connected for the airport because then that just allows you to sort of walk around, see more lounges, experience more amenities without having to go in and out. So looks like Seattle is similar. Thank you, Heather, for linking us the Atlanta Centurion review. Anthony continues and says, Whiskey Lounge in Atlanta Centurion is worth the visit. And Heather says there's also one in Phoenix too. PDX is Phoenix, right? I think. Yeah. Rahul says, question, if I fly on a positioning flight from Pearson to Toronto Pearson to Chicago on United to connect on an ANA flight booked separately, do I need to exit and go through security again? Because they are two separate tickets. If you have, it's about being able to generate your boarding pass. If you have a boarding pass, it doesn't matter if it was done on a separate ticket. As long as you have your boarding pass, you will be able to scan that and go through without having to go out and come back in again. As long as things are all airside, you should be okay. And typically, if I'm doing one of these separate ticket items, once I get to the gate, I just go up with my boarding pass and make sure that they don't need anything additional from me. Because sometimes when you do the check-in, they'll check your passport. And if those things haven't been done, then they'll do that at the gate before letting you through. But I don't think that should be an issue at all. As long as you can, as long as you check in online and are able to generate a boarding pass for yourself for that ANA flight in advance. If you don't, then yeah, unfortunately, you'll have to go out or find the service desk that has ANA staff or has ANA systems locked in for you to get a boarding pass before you can proceed towards your gates or terminals. Yeah. Um, Alex says, speaking of lounges, I was really impressed by the Chase Lounge in Boston. Reminds me of some of the lounges in Asia. Really? Alex, would love to see if you have pictures or if you want to write up a review. Uh, but yeah, I've never been to a Chase Lounge, to be honest, not one across the board. And so Chase seems to be doing such a great job in having these really niche lounges. It's artistic, they're very modern. Some of the reviews that I've read and seen, it looks really good. So clearly, this one seems no different in that it's special in Boston as well. And Alex says it reminds him of some of the lounges in Asia, which is high praise, let me tell you, because uh, good lounges in Asia are a class apart. Nice. I didn't think we'll have so much to talk about U.S. airports and U.S. transiting through U.S. But I'm glad we did because clearly a lot of the points community continues to use U.S. maybe not to go to the U.S. for things as much as to transit in and out of U.S. for the options that you get with other airlines, with other specific routes that you might be hunting down for your redemption purposes. So yeah, the overarching story here is that things are not as bad as people might think when it comes to transiting or going in and out of the US for Canadians. So if you had to go through the US, you should, I mean, it's no better or worse than it was before. If anything, because of the low volumes, immigration is a little bit easier out of a lot of the US airports now, or especially from Canada going transborder into the US, things are pretty easy to do. Oh, you can order through a QR code or pick up food. Nice. Yeah, I like lounges, like ANA, because ANA was mentioned. Lounges in sort of Narita or Haneda in Japan are amazing, right? You just do the QR code, place in your order, you get the little restaurant buzzer, hang out, grab a drink. Once your food is ready, you get to pick up. I like that. It's a lot more civilized than trying to put out bulk food in a buffet style where you're constantly taking things. Nothing wrong against it, but if I had to experience a nice bowl of ramen or something else, it's nice to be able to order even in a lounge and have that restaurant experience, so to speak. Alex says Philly also has very nice looking Chase Lounge. Haven't been, but looks great from the photos. Yeah. All right, folks. This was fun. Mike, I can tell you Heather hasn't finished her MSR on the Porter card. Oh, the other piece, the other questions that were popping up in forums were about when do Aeroplan points post through the CheckC transactions? And just as people were asking that, all of my transactions that were done whenever the CheckC Aeroplan thing was announced last month, posted on May 21st. So yeah, Lisa confirmed we submit points accruals 2 times a month. So yeah, it happens twice each month. So based on when your transaction was on CheckC and when the next report runs. So it's two reporting each month is how they're doing it. So just wanted to give you that confirmation. And they've confirmed that they're working on some language to put in their FAQs so that other people, when they have similar questions on when to expect your Aeroplan points after your transaction is done, they'll have something published directly on CheckC's account. Okay, folks, I think we've done well. So we'll close this one out. Let you enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll be back next week with more topics, more things to discuss. There's never a quiet time when it comes to points and travel. So I look forward to hearing from you on the usual forums. But until then, have a lovely, lovely weekend. Cheers, folks. Take care. Bye.